Please go ahead. We're now live. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Trudi Seneviratne, Registrar of the Royal College of Psychiatrists. First of all, thank you all so much for joining us for the second of our 2 webinars to discuss the forthcoming EGM. If you did miss the first one, I would highly recommend watching that, and you can watch it. You can find a link to this on our college website. So just a few things, a couple of things to remind you before we start. The microphones will be muted and cameras will be turned off for attendees. If you would like to ask a question, please do, and we encourage as many of you, please, to ask questions. Please use the Zoom Q&A function. We will, of course, try and get through as many of your questions as we can today. We want, of course, to have a really open and honest, open discussion today. And I invite you to start sending in your questions as soon as possible. We already have a few already, so please use the Zoom Q&A function. And please, can I also remind you that we want to do this in the spirit of our college values. We may well have differences of opinion, but please respect our colleagues, your colleagues, and be mindful and conscious of this in all your communications. So thank you so very much, and we look forward to an interesting session. I will now hand you over to our President, Dr. Adrian James. Over to you, Adrian. Thank you.
Well, thanks, Trudy, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us at the second of our webinars on our proposed extraordinary general meeting. And first of all, I do want to thank all of you for all you've done for our patients during COVID-19. And I hope now this summer that you'll all manage to get a bit of a break. It's important that we all do that. That's not a selfish thing. That's something we do for our patients as well. So do try to take a break if you can. But I'm also aware that many of you will be working extremely hard over the summer. So this is the second of our webinars to try to make sure that everybody knows as much as they can about our extraordinary general meeting and the voting that will take place. So we have also launched a consultation that's running now, running between the 21st of July and the 15th of August, and we've outlined what's happening and we've given you an opportunity to comment on that. People have been doing that already. We have published a special edition of our RCPsych Insight magazine that's come by email to all of you, but it's also been posted to you. And finally, yes, we will have the extraordinary general meeting or special meeting on Thursday, the 8th of September, and that's between 6 and 9 p.m. And that's at 9 locations, and I'll tell you a bit about that a bit later on. So what are we putting to our members at this extraordinary general meeting? I think we've got a couple of slides to make sure that you are very clear about what you will be being asked to vote on. So the first proposal is that affiliates will become entitled to vote in general meetings and elections of the college. This will apply to affiliates who have been working as a psychiatrist for at least 3 years. So that will be a straight vote. You'll have to be present at the meeting in order to vote on this. It will be a show of hands, and you will be asked whether you are in favour of it, whether you oppose it, or whether you wish to abstain. And for both these votes, we will need a 2/3 majority. So these big changes that we are asking our membership about, you need a 2/3 majority for them to be passed. And the second proposal we're putting to you is the provision to be made for us to be able to hold virtual meetings of the college, including annual general meetings, extraordinary general meetings, and special meetings, as a matter of course, without the need to seek specific agreement from the trustee board. Now, this might seem, well, this is just ridiculous. Why can't we just do that already? Well, the way in which the college is run is laid down in all the governing articles are in our bylaws, in our charter, in our supplemental charter. And of course, when many of these rules were established, the internet didn't even exist. So it's hardly surprising that people weren't thinking about that when they were putting these rules and regulations in. And we can't just decide about these big issues. We can't just say, well, we're just going to do it this way. We have to get the Privy Council to agree to this. First of all, it goes to our College Council. These two items have been to the council. They have agreed, and it's been to our trustee board. They've agreed. We now have to run it past the Privy Council just so that they're aware and they get a chance to make some initial comments. Then it's taken to an annual general meeting, or in this case, an extraordinary general meeting for you, the members, to decide and to cast your vote. It then has to go back to the Privy Council for them finally to say, yep, that's it. The rules have changed and you can operate in that way. So just some key messages really just to get across. So this is about an online capability for AGM and EGMs. We believe that having to hold these meetings in person, actually it's true of lots of organisations, that we still get invited to meetings, don't we? If you're members of the National Trust, or you get invited to an in-person AGMs, it's not unusual, but it is old-fashioned, and we feel that we'll be able to give more of our members a say by allowing people to vote online. The affiliate vote, as I say, this has been through our council agree, and we want affiliates to be included as a full part of our college family. And this is about inclusion of those who are hard-working doctors who are working in psychiatry alongside many of us, giving them a proper say in how the college is run. Now, most affiliates are SAS doctors, and SAS doctors in total account for 24.3% of the psychiatric workforce. So a big part of the workforce, and it's vital that they feel supported and included and valued within the college. And we feel that by giving the vote that this will contribute to that. It's something that they have asked for. Now, a really important thing, want to make sure that people are aware that we're not doing. We did have an initial proposal to introduce post-nominals for different grades of membership of the college. Now, a post-nominal, some people don't even know what they are. The post-nominals that exist at the moment are MRCpsych after your name or FRCpsych after your name. So that's what a post-nominal is. We had proposed to introduce these for other grades of members. There was a very strong feeling of concern around this, and that is not something that we are putting to our members at this extraordinary general meeting. And I've also said that I am not going to put it to any other meeting whilst I'm president. This will be something for the new president to consider, along with the council and trustee board, to consider in more detail when I've moved on from this post. So we are not, the issue of post-nominals is not an issue for debate at the moment. People obviously can have your own conversations about it, and if it comes back, then that will be very important, but it won't come back whilst I'm president. So the extraordinary general meeting or special meeting, this is going to be a vote on the proposal to extend voting rights to affiliates and to allow online meetings. the extraordinary general meeting will take place on Thursday, the 8th of September, between 6 o'clock and 9 o'clock. Now that's a 3-hour meeting. That's to give everybody plenty of time to ask questions, to discuss what's being put forward. Of course, if people feel that there isn't so much to discuss because of all the work that's now being done in informing you all, it needn't last for 3 hours, but one of the criticisms of the annual general meeting was that there wasn't enough time for discussion. We had a hard 1-hour meeting. We had the International Congress happening immediately afterwards. We couldn't extend the meeting. So we've now got a sort of an open-ended meeting so we can have as much or as little discussion as people would like. Where are the meetings going to take place? In London, in Edinburgh, in Cardiff, in Belfast, in Leeds, in Birmingham, Ipswich, Newcastle, and Exeter. So this is an in-person meeting only. People can observe online, but you won't be able to vote. Although obviously in coming years, you will be able to vote online if one of the proposals is passed. So you will all have received an email telling you about the in-person meetings. I would, if possible, like you all to register for it, because we've obviously got staff, we've got catering. We don't want to waste money on catering. We want to make sure that you teas and coffees are available for you all. So we have a bit of an idea about the numbers. Please do register online. That's really important. So and also a reminder for you to participate in the consultation that's on the website at the moment. Again, there was a link to that in the email that went out. So please do give us your thoughts and feelings. But of course, tonight is part of that as well. And please feel free. We want you to post your questions in the Q&A, and we will answer as many of them as we can. So why is there going to be an EGM in September? So the feedback we had from the AGM, if I'm honest, mostly over the years, there haven't been many members present. There have always been changes to our charter, our supplemental charter. They've generally been grouped together and passed in a single vote, or a very small number of votes. That tends to be how these things have been done. And also using this rather clunky system that we're now trying to review and reform. So, and few people have attended. They were just really essentially just voted through on the nod. Now, what happened at the AGM is people really felt very strongly at that meeting and beforehand, in the time leading up to it, about these proposals for new people being able to vote. And so this started a big conversation, and people really wanted to participate in the annual general meeting. By the time we actually got to the meeting, we had to post the resolutions as they had already been posted, when we actually had to give notice that the AGM was going to take place. We couldn't then start changing around or splitting them up. So we had to put them as they had traditionally been put. But in fact, our members were saying, well, we agree with some of it, we don't agree with others, or we've got concern about others, we want more time to consider it. And the first vote that was put was the votes for affiliates, but also votes for international associates. And people said, well, a lot of people came back and said, well, look, we're quite keen on the idea of the affiliates voting, but it got lumped in with another resolution. Many people were keen on that as well, but people found it rather confusing. And so people wanted the opportunity to have a single vote on a single issue. And that's certainly learning for us that's what we will do going forward, trying not to lump things together. There was a great deal of expectation, quite rightly so, on the part of our affiliates that there was going to be this change. They were very disappointed. We needed a 2/3 majority. In fact, we got about 63% were in favour of it. So the majority of people were in favour of it. For the meeting, it was online and in person. I'll come to that later on as to why we were able to do that on that occasion. But in the room, people who were fully participating, 88% of people were in favour of the vote for affiliates and international associates. So there were also technical difficulties with the online vote. There were people who found that they couldn't actually log on and couldn't participate in the vote. So it wasn't just, oh well, we lost it, let's have another go. There were real challenges there in terms of the information that people wanted, in terms of splitting the vote, so you got to vote on just one thing, and the technical difficulties in terms of when people were online, that they couldn't actually participate. So again, just want to be very clear, how can you participate in the extraordinary general meeting? You can't vote online. You must go to one of those places. Again, I'll repeat them: London, Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast, Leeds, Birmingham and Exeter. You have to vote in person. There is no proxy voting either. Again, our rules don't allow it. You can observe online and say, please do register. So how will the voting work? So we're there is a bit of a complication that mostly resolutions are lumped together. We feel fairly optimistic that there'll be two separate votes. We're waiting for absolute confirmation from the Privy Council that they will allow that. So we are hoping it's going to be two separate votes. There is an outside chance that we will have to lump the two votes together. So we hope there will be two separate votes. Due to the rules around amending our constitution, we need separate resolutions for changes to the supplemental charter and the bylaws, and we need a 2/3 majority for these to pass. So if we get just over 50%, that isn't that won't mean that it will pass. And we will, a bit nearer the time, provide a flow chart that explain that the whole process of these things, starting with our council, then the trustee board, running past the Privy Council, coming to the extraordinary general meeting or AGM as normal, and then going back to the Privy Council. So we have been holding our AGMs online during COVID. And in fact, we did at the most recent meeting, even though the COVID numbers had reduced or had started to reduce. So during COVID, the Charity Commission allowed all organisations such as ours to hold online AGMs because of the special situation of the pandemic. But when the pandemic issues reduced, that was withdrawn. So we were back to how our rules and regulations normally operated. Now, when it came to our AGM at our International Congress in Edinburgh, that was due to be a solely face-to-face meeting. We had lots of members saying, we can't get there, we would really like to participate, please could it be an online meeting as well? Now, we consulted with our lawyers, and they were of the view that because of two things, the COVID numbers, if you remember, were starting to go up pretty astronomically. We had lots of people who cancelled coming to International Congress because of that. We had speakers who cancelled as well, some of whom then very kindly did a remote presentation. So because of the rail strike as well at the same time, and COVID numbers going up, they said, well, this is clearly exceptional, and in our view, it would be legal to have both online and face-to-face. But you can't sort of preempt exceptional circumstances. So we can't go forward and say that, and this is the strong legal advice that we've had, you can't, it would be seen as being flouting the rules if we were just to say, well, we're just going to do it anyway. And when we go back to the Privy Council, they ask for an assurance that we followed our rules. So, and they're very, very hot on that. So I guess it's conceivable that another exceptional circumstance will arise on the 8th of September. We don't know, but it would have to be wholly exceptional unless we can change the rules. So the EGM can be held in parallel in different locations. It's counted then as one meeting. So why do we have such a convoluted process to bring about change? Well, we are a medical royal college. As in all medical royal colleges, there is a royal charter, a supplemental charter, and bylaws. All of those have to be, if they're going to be amended or changed or added to, then they have to go to the Privy Council for agreement. We also have regulations that govern what we do, and the college has more control over that. But there are some things that are in these governing rules that have to go to the Privy Council. Some things we can change ourselves. And I mean, to be fair to them, they are meant to be designed so that people like me can't just say, this is a great idea, let's do it. They are meant to establish a process so there are checks and balances. And you could say that what happened at the AGM in Edinburgh, that it was a good thing, because ultimately our members are in charge of how the college is run. Hopefully, mostly people support what we are doing as an officer group, as a council, as a trustee board. But if the membership really feels so strongly about something, they want to say, this is a big change, we don't want it to happen, the membership can step in. So you could say that in many ways it actually worked pretty well, because we wanted to do something and the members said, no, we don't want to do it, or we want more information, really, was what seemed to be being said. So what about the other issues that were being proposed? We've taken two back to council that we were considering taking to this meeting, and that was that chairs of international divisions to become full members of council. We have 3,600 members outside of the UK. At the moment, our international division chairs, they observe council, but they can't fully participate. This was something that we feel that they should be a full part of what is our global college, and also the council to be renamed the Council of the College instead of its current name, which is the UK Council. Now, our council felt that both of these should be put to a meeting, but they didn't feel, this is an extraordinary general meeting that we're having, they didn't feel that there was an urgency about that could wait for the annual general meeting next year. And if it's an extraordinary meeting, we should only be putting things that really needed to be sorted now. So again, that was council working to say, we like the idea, we support it, but we want to use this meeting for the essential things that we need to look at now. Now, in addition, there were things that are not being put, we didn't put back to council, that we will be considering in the next year, bringing to the next AGM that will be again around the time of our international congress next year. And those issues are that specialist associates, so these are people who've been through the CSER route, are on the specialist register. They can already vote, and they can stand for election to college posts, that they should be entitled to apply for fellowship of the college after 10 years. That was one issue, that international associates would become entitled to vote in general meetings and elections of the college, that students at international medical schools recognised by the equivalent of the GMC and by our council would be eligible to become student associates, that the current annual and total limits on the numbers of people who could be mental health associates, so these are non-psychiatrists, sometimes non-medics, people who don't have a medical degree, becoming mental health associates. That's always been possible. That number is capped. We were considering taking the cap away, particularly to attract people, for example, such as physician associates, who are becoming a significant part of the medical workforce. So that was another thing that we wanted to bring, that introducing a power for the trustee board the Board of Trustees to adopt a code of conduct, and also annual elections during an honorary officer's tenure of office to only be called following a vote of council to hold such an election. Now, those are things we're not putting to this meeting. We will consider further, we'll consult further on those, but we will look to see whether it's right or wrong to bring them to an annual general meeting next year. And again, I just want to stress that the post-nominal issue is completely off the table. So some of the queries people had, so what is an affiliate member? So an affiliate member is a medical doctor working in psychiatry, so working as a psychiatrist in the United Kingdom, somebody who doesn't hold the RCPsych qualification, does not hold specialist registration, because otherwise they would be eligible for different forms of membership, has met the criteria for appointment to their post as set out from time to time by the various departments of health in the United Kingdom, and has worked as a psychiatrist for at least 3 years. And council would set a process for approving applications. So there'd be a robustness around us making sure that people met the criteria. Now, what's the breakdown of members in various categories? So overall, the college has got 20,000 members. In fact, the latest figures were 20,100, and we have 1,519 affiliates in affiliate grade of membership of the college, and of those, about 1,153 are SAS doctors. Now, the college has a total of 2,600 SAS doctors in various grades of membership. Some SAS doctors are on the specialist register through the CSER route, so they will be eligible to be for a different grade of membership, as already mentioned, as specialist associates, and some have the exam, so they can be a member of the college. So 2,600 SAS doctors, and about 1,519 are, so 1,153 are affiliate doctors. In total, in the United Kingdom, there are approximately 2,900 SAS doctors. So if all the extra doctors, SAS doctors who are not affiliates, who don't have another form of membership of the college, decided to join the college as affiliates, that would add an extra 300 affiliates to the affiliate grade. So there are all the different grades of membership are in the RCPsych Insight Special. On the back page, you can see a grid of who can vote, who can't, how many members there are in all the different categories. So do make reference to that. So another question that's been asked is how affiliates would be represented. So the 1,153 SAS doctors who are affiliates will be represented by the SAS Doctors Committee. And another question is, could affiliates stand for election within the college? The college's regulations state that only members who are full voting members and specialist associates can stand for election for college roles. What we're proposing now is not going to change that. The college could have a look at that and change it at some point in the future, but that will not change as a result of what we're doing here. So that's rather a lot of information. Again, it's all covered in the RCPsych Insights Special. And if you have further queries, I know we've got questions already that have been asked. If you want to ask further questions through the consultation, if you think of something later, please do let us know through that. And of course, at the extraordinary general meeting, you will have a chance to ask questions of me and the other officers. So there's plenty of time if you have any queries. So that's really what I wanted to say. So Trudy, back to you for the Q&A.
That's great, Adrian. Well, hopefully that was a really comprehensive run through the reasons why we've got to where we've got to. So there are a number of questions that came in prior to the webinar and some that are coming through as you were speaking. So let me start with this one. So this was from Dr. Prasanna De Silva, whose question was on giving SAS and other non-MRC psych doctors an equivalent vote. What are the benefits to the current membership, such as less membership fees? What are the benefits and costs to the college? And also caveating that with also surely we have other more damaging issues facing us, for example, on data security of patient volunteered information, poor quality of information we provide our patients and carers, polypharmacy of psychotropics and reluctance to remedy this, and poor physical health monitoring and remediation procedures. So rather a long question, but I guess the initial parts for that. Did you want to respond to that, Adrian? Thank you.
I think affiliates have made it very clear to me, officers and other members of the college, that they do feel strongly about this. They have always felt that they're not a full part of the college family. It's people might think, well, is it symbolic importance? I think it is more than that. I think we value our voting in all sorts of elections. It makes you feel fully valued by the organisation, that you can fully participate. You can not only say what you think, you actually have a chance to actually say, we want this to happen, we don't want this to happen. So I think it is important, and I think affiliate doctors have often felt very marginalised. This is a way of really valuing them and bringing them in. And as I say, it's voting is not a small issue. I personally think that there are huge benefits for us being more inclusive. I value the opinion of our affiliate doctors. I want them to feel fully included in the running of the college. There are no proposals at all to change the subscription levels for any form of membership. I can't say it, but sometime in the future somebody might look at that, but it's not. We're not going to increase or decrease the subscriptions for any form of membership as a result of this. Now, in relation to are there more important matters? I think this is really important, and I think the fact that this has before the AGM, that there were so many people raising issues, that there were so many people present at those AGMs, far more than we've had before. People saying we want an online participation in that. I think that showed that this does matter to our affiliates, and it matters to our members, because it's actually about the identity of the college. So I think this is a really important issue, but you're quite right, it's there are other important issues. This is not going to distract from that. And we are putting a lot of effort into this. Now, I'm going to have to confess, this was not our original intention. We'd taken it through council, we'd taken it through our trustees. We brought it to what we thought was going to be our usual straightforward meeting, our AGM, and that would have in normal years, or about other issues perhaps, that would have passed and we wouldn't have spent much time looking at it. But our members told us that they did want to look at it, they did want to think about it, they wanted more information. So I think that's a measure that this is important. But of course, the majority of my time, I've been doing it earlier on today, is lobbying for those resources, for those really important issues that are for our patients, and the college is here for for patients. And so we don't want to get distracted entirely from all those other really important things that I know matter to all our members as well.
That's great, Adrian. Thank you. The next question is from Professor John Cox, who is, of course, one of our past presidents of the college. And I believe Professor Cox is also with us today. is please clarify the nature and scope of the post-nominals. So I think that's straightforward. You've heard Adrian say already that we are leaving post-nominal, so that is no longer on the table going forwards, and it's not something Adrian wants to look at again during his presidency. Adrian, I don't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Oh, that's absolutely right. The original proposals were, and they were sent to everybody for the AGM, were that we would have post-nominals for all different grades of members, but we have withdrawn that. That won't be presented again during my presidency, but we'll have a new president elected by the middle of January. They may or may not wish to, along with council and trustee board, to take that proposal forward again, but it isn't part of the current proposals that we are putting to the extraordinary general meeting or special meeting.
Thank you for that question, and thank you for the response, Adrian. And this is from Ian Bronx, saying, having read the RCPsych Insight dated the 21st of July this year, he wanted to ask, what is the basis of the President's assertions that the debate regarding the proposal to extend voting rights to affiliates in the lead up to the AGM caused a great deal of distress, and that the morale of the SAS doctors in psychiatry has been damaged by the debate?
Well, thanks for the question. I think this is important to our affiliates, and I think quite rightly so. Over the years, I've had a number have written to me, have lobbied, and so it is important. We had a proposal. I think Lily, who's the chair of our SS committee, I think is actually on the call today, and so Lily represents SS doctors at council. They were at those meetings where council had said that we wanted affiliates to be able to vote, and so the SAS community were very much aware that this was a proposal that had been backed by council, that was going to an AGM. I think, as had normally happened before, there was probably an assumption it would go through. So people were feeling optimistic. They were feeling that the college had listened, that we were engaging with them. And of course, then what happened was that wasn't passed, and that's the right of the AGM to pass resolutions or to reject them. But there was also, I think, quite a there was lots of comments on Twitter. I think it clearly stirred up a lot of feeling. I think some of the expressions could have been put in a better way. But what's the proof that people have this has affected them? People have approached me since the AGM, at the AGM, and expressed that view. And in fact, the SAS doctors, through the SAS committee, wrote to me, the officers, and the trustee board, and the trustee board saw that expression of concern over really what had happened. And I think Lily's just put in the chat that they had an unprecedented number of letters, communications, emails to the SAS committee expressing concern. So I think there's absolutely no doubt that it did cause a lot of concern and upset, and I completely understood that.
Thank you. That's great, Adrian. Moving on, someone has posted and asked, for the EGM, can we place our votes remotely without attending in person? So hopefully you've heard that that's not possible. So it is necessary to attend in person. And as you heard Adrian saying, we have 9 centres across the country, and those, it has to be that because of the nature of our current bylaws, and that's exactly why we want to sort of propose this, so that we can move to a process of allowing online voting. So those centres will be Prescott Street in London, as well as Edinburgh, Cardiff, Belfast, Leeds, Birmingham, Ipswich, Newcastle and Exeter. But the event will be live streamed, but that you won't be able to vote through that process. And somebody just saying they haven't had an opportunity to see the consultation. So you will see that it has been reposted on your chat here, but there is the consultation happening between the 25th of July and the 15th of August. So that's available on the website for you to access. So please do access that.
So there is an EGM page on the website, and that will remain open, and you can get the link to the consultation, but also the link to register for the extraordinary general meeting itself. So if in doubt, go to the website. It will have been in an email that was sent to you, but it'll be on the website on the EGM page.
And just a comment here, just saying, I think it's quite positive that and right, at least that the affiliate right to vote is discussed rather than just being ignored here. And another comment just saying, losing the proposal by 4% was disappointing for the affiliates. I can vouch for that. And another comment to everyone to say that we had an unprecedented number of SAS doctors make contact with the SAS committee about the AGM, both pre and post the event. So moving on to perhaps some of a few more questions. Adrian, perhaps one for you. Is a straightforward one. Will the majority of those who presently have the right to vote be able to vote in this process? Perhaps I can answer that. Well, of course, everybody who has a right to vote currently will be able to vote, and we want as many people to vote as possible for that. But the extension to the question is, can the voting be split and have two separate votes for each item? And again, you have answered that, but do you want to respond to that again, because that's very much based on the Privy Council?
Yeah, I mean, say, I'm not sure this all sounds absurd to people, but I'm afraid it is the case. It was absolutely our intention that there should be a separate vote on each. That's how we had wanted it to be. Our lawyers found something, again, within our rules and regulations that means that the Privy Council's preference is that things are lumped together. And we are in touch with the Privy Council. Our lawyers are on the case with this as well. And we have made it 100% clear that we want to have a separate vote. It seems very logical. These are two very different issues. And so it is absolutely our intention that it will be separate. We are fairly optimistic that in the end they will agree to it, but I can't at this moment say that's absolutely what will happen. So we hope that there'll be a separate vote on the affiliates having the vote and a separate one on the remote meetings. It's possible it will be put to a single vote, but I hope that won't be the case.
That's lovely, Adrian, thank you. So just a few more questions on exactly that issue of having, single votes versus two, but it's the same, it will be the same response for both. The question around having worked as a psychiatrist for 3 years, is it UK or anywhere in the world?
It is just in the UK. There is another form of membership that is international associates, that is a separate group.
Thank you. And again, it's the same theme of voting. What about people who agree on one, i.e. virtual AGMs and voting, and not on another? For example, i.e. voting rights to affiliates. Actually, I'm for affiliates getting voting rights. So I guess it's the same response, isn't it? That at the moment, we're asking if it can be separate votes, but it can't be at the moment. Is there anything you want to repeat about that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we very much hope that there will be a separate vote. If there is not a separate vote, we will put them together. And I guess people will have to take a view, really, on their view. If they feel so strongly against one or other of the issues, then they may vote one way. If they think on balance, actually, it's all okay if they are put together, you will have to take a view on the balance of your feeling on the two of them, and then put them together and to see how you vote. But it would be, I think it would be unfortunate if it came to that.
Thank you for that. So just a comment and a question here. Members obtained their voting right after fulfilling membership requirements. Affiliates obtain the same voting rights after essentially working as a psychiatrist, but without holding any psychiatric qualifications. So that's a question that's posed as a question. And this is exactly why we want to change that process. And just a reminder that that for an affiliate, yes, it's working in the UK and it's working for 3 years, but they do have to be proposed by either a member, a fellow, or a specialist. And once that comes into the college, that will be scrutinised by the membership department. And because we're making this change, members, affiliates who are admitted after the 1st of September will need to have that 3-year membership, which previously wasn't there. So that will be a new addition to what's being required. And that will be in addition to everything else that we require in those regulations. Adrian, again, anything you want to add to that?
I think the issue of I think there's been raised that obtain voting after, I think the question is just working as a psychiatrist but without psychiatric qualification. I think it's a view. Some people will have that view, but I think we need to remember that these are people who have dedicated their lives to psychiatry and to our patients. Now, they might have decided not to take the exam. I failed my exam the first time that I did it. It may be that people haven't passed the exam, but to then say, in the best way that you can participate in the college, which is voting in elections, that there is no way that you can find your way back into that. And furthermore, if you're going to be an affiliate, you have to pay a significant subscription, over £300. I mean, I work alongside affiliates all the time. They're very hardworking. They do a huge amount of work for our patients. And I think we need to respect them. I think we need to include them. And I don't see that the only way that you can be fully included in the Royal College of Psychiatrists is that you pass the exam. I'm very pleased that I did pass the exam, and that will always be something to be proud of. But I don't think it should be the only way in which you can play a full part. Again, our members will decide on this. But I think other medical Royal Colleges have routes to people who haven't passed their exam having the vote. For example, the Royal College of Physicians, you can become a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians having never passed the fellowship exam. SAS doctors can become fellows of the Royal College of Physicians, and they can then vote in their elections. So And I think that the fact that that is open to the Royal College of Physicians, it hasn't, some people have said, well, this is devalues the exam, and that hasn't devalued the MRCP at all. It's I think the world's, in terms of professional medical exam, it's the most popular exam for people to take. And so it hasn't devalued that. I think there is value in all of us in whatever way that we want to contribute. And these will be all psychiatrists working in psychiatry, having done so for at least 3 years. So I think that's it's important, but say people will have different views.
Thank you for that, Adrian. So there is a comment here by Anit Bhattacharya. I wonder if we can, Anit, do you want to make your comment here? Is it possible just to open up the, you don't have to, but I wondered whether you wanted to sort of make your comment rather than my reading this out.
Hello.
Hi, Anit, we can hear you.
Yes. Now this issue has been cropping up time and time again. There was even a proposal at one time to make it not the Royal College of Psychiatrists, but Royal College of Psychiatry, and therefore include all the nurses, all everybody else, whoever is in the periphery. We didn't allow that. At that time, I was a member of one of the committees, and we knew that there had been previously attempts at giving membership to people who have not qualified as members, but they have just worked, etc. And they were in the power equation, very powerful people, and gifting them. But then, as far as I understand from the president of the Royal College at that time, that this was then deemed as illegal. What I'm pointing out is, if you want to give up this college to everybody else, let it be done. But I don't want to be a part of it, because this is question of keeping up a very high standard, operational standard in terms of psychiatric practice. And whatever may be the rights and wrongs of this particular examination, it's something at least which is still keeping some people in and out, and thereby judging them in some way or another as to their performance. Of course, there are gaps in that process of judging. Of course, there could be somebody outside who could be a brilliant psychiatrist and never passed an exam, but that is not usually the rule. That is the exception. So we have to have some place where properly trained and properly educated and properly qualified people should have their opinion. What's wrong with that? Why do you have to play with that? I can't understand. It only maybe because obviously Royal College of Psychiatry has got a reputation, and as soon as it becomes Royal College of Psychiatry rather than psychiatrists, it can create a tremendous amount of money. There people will be eroding, the organization would be having a lot of money to spend, and therefore it is the interest of the office bearers to go towards that direction for a very short term, but it will ultimately destroy the level of competence which we, and particularly at a time when we're overrun by so much of patients that people with questionable quality are being inducted into the service. And that is why I make this point.
Thank you for your comment on it. Perhaps shall I start, and Adrian might want to continue. So just on a few of your points. So there is absolutely no suggestion of changing it to the Royal College of Psychiatry. And just to go back to the issue, if you were suggesting about the affiliates, we're not, we're not going down that route, and that wasn't. So
I have mentioned thin end of the wedge, thin end of the wedge. This is the way the transfer of things happen. That is the beginning of the end. That's what I've said. Yes,
and just to respond to that is that we know that our SAS doctors and our affiliates are a huge part of the workforce. We're suggesting a starting point of three years experience, but they are hugely experienced psychiatrists within the workforce and remain in the workforce, as do members and consultant psychiatrists. Some of them can become consultants in some places, so that can happen. So we are talking about a significant proportion of the workforce looking after our patients who do have extraordinary amount of skills, although they may not have gone down the route of the MRC-Psych exam, although some people do, as we know. I don't know whether Adrian wants to add anything to that.
Yes, I think that we are already inviting them to be an affiliate, and they pay a substantial amount of money to be an affiliate. And so, and I personally, I think the exam is hugely important, but I don't think it's the only way that you can be excellent and contribute to, you know, your full ability. And my experience of affiliate doctors and SS doctors is they're an incredibly important part of the workforce. They do a great job for patients. The system, certainly where I work, couldn't function without them. And so I think this is about valuing people who are 100% committed. I mean, I did pass my exam. I failed it first time. I remember thinking, well, what if I never pass this exam? I'm committed to psychiatry. It could have been that I failed the exam. And of course, some people don't want to take the exam, and exams are not for everyone. But I would have still been committed to being a psychiatrist, working in psychiatry. I'm 100% certain of that. And the fact that I would want to engage, I think we should really welcome the fact that people want to engage with the college. And when they do, I think there comes a point where you have to say, in important things, they need to be able to vote as well. And this is a relatively, well, this is a group who are already engaged. We have, well, I think 1,100 affiliates. There may be 300 more who may come in, but you know, if people are concerned in the future that other things will happen, that's not what we're proposing now. And if it does, look what happened at our AGM. Our membership can step in and say, we don't want that to happen. But you know, I think the idea, I think people are missing the you know, the great value that there is. I think the certain value in including people and making them feel part of something which they want to be a full part of, and actually then saying all the things that could happen that we can control that they don't happen. So we're talking about psychiatrists working alongside us, providing good care for our patients.
So can I make a point, please? Yeah, if I can. I mean, you said, with due respect, you are the president, obviously you have a position of respect, but the point is, like, you blaming us for missing a point. You are missing a point. The point is, why keep the exam at all? Why keep the exam at all as a qualifying? Is that to make money for college? We could give up the exam and then everybody can become members on the basis of whatever the experience. Experience doesn't count as competence necessarily in a system which is clicking at its seams, where people are today not able to recruit people for anything, just being recruited into things, getting people from third world countries, anybody and everybody. It doesn't make for any kind of proof that a good skill or good ability, nothing of the sort. Exams also are a rather bad among the worst ways of proving things. But nevertheless, an exam is an exam. Hopefully, the examiners do it in such a way that it really tests out the people who are going to be successfully skilled rather than why keep the exam at all? Then the exam has lost all its value and everybody can bypass. There has always been the ability for us to nominate honorary fellows for the college without having examination background even. That has always been present. So if somebody is so good in their field, they will be nominated honorary fellows. They don't have to go through a membership process.
I mean, I'm not sort of blaming anyone. I'm just making the clear point that I think there is clear value. In my view, you'll have your own view in this happening, and I think the exam is important. But I think there are other ways you can show excellence and a full contribution to working as a psychiatrist. And so I think that's, and we are, you were saying about this is all about making money. We are already taking a significant amount of money from affiliates, so they contribute. It's the whole sort of representation without taxation, or taxation without representation. And so this is not about making money, and it's, if we attract a few others, it's a relatively small amount of individuals. So I disagree with your view.
Of course you do, but because I have said the thin end of the wedge, this is the beginning of the end. This is the first step. And then there were other steps very similar, and exactly the same thing will be said, that we're getting already a lot of money from these people. Why college need more money from these people? They don't.
They're already taking money from them, and they don't get a chance to vote. But if the college doesn't want to move forward with any other things, I've already said, you know, there may be things you'll put to the next AGM, the members will say no. So as has already happened.
So we're going to thank you, Annette, for your comments and for your honesty, and Adrian, thank you for your responses. We have actually hit 5 o'clock. In fact, we're a minute after 5 o'clock. I just want to just post a couple of comments that are on the chat as we wrap up. So a comment just to say that SAS doctors work independently, particularly those who have crossed the threshold to old associate specialist or new specialist grade without being directly supervised by consultants as per the SAS contract. And also there was a question from Greta about numbers accommodated at the various sites. As many people can attend those sites, and really we've increased the number of venues possible for the extraordinary general meeting so that people can get there. So it's, if you can get there, please do. But as you've heard, because of our regulations, that's the only way somebody can vote, is actually to be present there. And finally, just a reminder, please do remember that the consultation is open. You can go to the EGM page on the website, so please do take part in that. So on that, I'd like to thank you all of you. There are over 60 of you who are taking part in this, so thank you very much for taking part. Please continue to take part in the ongoing consultation. We have a company called Research by Design who we work with, who will be helping to analyse the consultation that we will then be publishing ahead of the EGM. And Adrian, thank you for being here as part of the webinar and taking those questions. So thank you very much, everybody. We look forward to working with everybody to taking this forward.